Moldavite Podcast, Episode 5. A few years ago, I woke up to the fact that there's more to life than what we've been told. Exploring a new spiritual path, I stumbled upon Moldavite. This is where our story begins. You are invited as I share not only my own personal journey, but also talk with people just like you that have been working with Moldavite. We have some amazing things to share, so please join us. What's going on, you guys? Levi, the Moldavite guy here. Welcome once again to the Moldavite Life Podcast. Today is Friday, November 4th, 2016. This is episode 5 of the Moldavite Life Podcast. Okay, real quick before I get started, a couple of quick announcements here. You like the backdrop? I just got that. I was looking for something that was green, more green, maybe even with Moldavite, but that might be kind of hard to find. So, this is what I've got, so hopefully you guys are liking the new layout here in the background. I like it better than what was previously here. All right, real quick, special thanks to some new subscribers on YouTube. Martina Rohan, Latoya Edwards, Zandra Sotoborja, hopefully I pronounced that right, Mike Legalt, and Taishana Crystal. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for subscribing to the podcast. I appreciate it. And also, one other announcement. The shop on the website is now live. So if you want some Moldavite, I will be posting some new pieces up there, as well as some Moldavite jewelry that I've been working on. Right now it's slow going, but just please bear with me. Give me a little bit of time. This is all going. I'm a one-man show right now, wearing all the hats. So, okay, going to get into today. Today's show, we are talking about Moldavite water, more specifically. Now, why Moldavite water? Why water? Think about this. Now, in doing research for the show, I watched a number of videos and looked up a bunch of information about water. Because, all right, here's a number of fascinating things that I found out about water. Not Moldavite. I've got Moldavite on the brain here. Water is an incredible substance. Without it, of course, life would not exist here on this planet. And it is the only substance that scientists have found and do not understand why. It is the only substance that can exist in 3 states. That being solid, ice, liquid, water, and gaseous state, like as in before rain, it's humid. So it's the only substance that can do that. They don't know why. Water also has memory, believe it or not. Memory. We don't necessarily think about something like that, but think about that. Water has memory. They say that whatever water comes into contact with, it actually somehow it somehow picks up traces of whatever its environment is. Also thoughts. Now, thoughts. That's leading me into Dr. Emoto. Many of you are probably no doubt familiar with Dr. Emoto's work with water. And he was a scientist that studied some of the effects of water and what human thought and sound might have on water itself. Now, before we get into that, think about this: the human body, depending on the age, is comprised of 70 to 90% water. It's a lot of water. Now, the brain. The human brain is made up of 85% water. Now, again, it's a lot of water. Now, we're not talking about Moldavite water yet, but just water itself. Think about that. So, if water is that crucial to our bodies, think about Okay, let's go back to Dr. Emoto's work with water. Now, he did a number of experiments with water. He put water into containers, and he typed up words and set them on each container. He had groups of people essentially concentrate whatever word that was onto that water. So, for example, he wrote things like love and appreciation, hate, and both positive and negative ends of the spectrum there. And after some time, he took a little bit of that water from each one of those, froze the water, and then examined the crystals under a microscope. And what he found was that the crystals that grew from the water that had things like love written on them were these beautiful crystalline structures, very, very similar to these beautiful snowflakes that you see, or pictures of snowflakes. And the ones that had negative words written on them had these kind of malformed structures of just a little grotesque crystals. And it was a dramatic difference between kind of the positive, negative end of the spectrum with as far as what was written on them. So, again, think about that. If our bodies are primarily made up of water, and the brain even more so, imagine what a thought could do to you yourself. Imagine what a thought could do to the world. Now, before I go too down the rabbit hole and off the track here, today's episode, again, is about Moldavite water. Now, think about Moldavite. Moldavite is this combination of both extraterrestrial and terrestrial material, meaning it's a tektite. It, again, is a result of a meteorite that came to Earth, and it kind of fused with the crystalline, crust of the Earth. When the asteroid or a meteorite hit, spewed everything up into the air, and if you think about it, in a way, Moldavite kind of went from a solid to liquid to gas, and then kind of formed into Moldavite. So, all right, Moldavite. Most of us, or most of you, I'd say, paying attention to the podcast here, probably know a little bit about Moldavite, and no doubt probably sense and feel something from Moldavite. And you would agree probably that it has a very unique energy to it. Now, think about water again. Water has memory. Scientists have discovered that water has memory. Now, these modern instruments that scientists have come up with, I don't even remember how this was created. I think one that I do remember was they created some kind of a instrument based off of the Kirlian photography, where they would apply energy to something, and from that they could see all these patterns around whatever object it was they were looking at. So essentially this one group of scientists, I guess, they've created this modern instrument that allowed them to do that. Anyways, before I get too off track, Moldavite water. Now, if water has memory and you put Moldavite in there, no doubt whatever water comes in contact with, somehow it's able to pick up, trace some things from its environment. And what scientists have found is that water coming from the tap of most modern civilizations here is essentially dead water. It's not living. I mean, yes, it'll hydrate you. It will keep you alive, but there's nothing to it. There are, man, I could go on and on about this. Sorry, I was watching a lot of documentaries and videos about water, and it's just incredible amount of information out there. Okay, so Moldavite water, this right here, I make my Moldavite water by putting some water, of course, in a glass outside in the sunlight, and I add a piece of quartz. This actually is, I don't know if you can really see it, but this is rose quartz. This is a rose quartz that I got at a local shop here, and it actually has small pieces of, I believe, silver inside of the quartz. Anyways, got that. There's a piece of Moldavite right there, and also some small pieces of Moldavite that I've put around the edge of the glass itself, because I've actually made a set of these for sale on the website, moldavitelife.com. But anyways, so when I make my Moldavite water, I set this outside in the sun, add the quartz, I add the Moldavite, and I kind of try and focus some positive intention. Whether you believe it or not, that's one thing. That's fine. It's okay. Now think about how masses of people go to religious events at some of these large churches, and they will get a small amount of holy water, whether they believe it or not. There's something about holy water. That was another thing in the documentary. They showed that holy water, the structure, was this beautiful crystalline structure as compared to just regular tap water. Yeah, I can go on and on about this. But back to Moldavite water. All right, so I tried to give this a positive intention. Try and just say thank you. I think that was another thing that Dr. Emoto figured out was very helpful. Say thank you, appreciation. And matter of fact, the two most important positive things that you can kind of project with your intention on water is love and appreciation. So, since rose quartz is what many say represents love, as well as Moldavite, of course, works with the heart chakra, that's the reason I use the two there. Now, you can use any quartz crystal, I would imagine. I'm not going to make this a video about how to, just telling you how I do it, because there are too many lawyers getting too much money that they probably don't deserve. No comment there. All right. So you can add a piece of quartz crystal. I would strongly suggest that maybe you find a polished piece of quartz crystal, because I would strongly suggest that you do not use anything other than quartz, because there are some minerals and things like that that will essentially disintegrate in water, and you don't want to be drinking anything like that. Now, Moldavite water itself, I would say please take the crystal and the Moldavite out, so all you have is water when you drink the water. Let's see. Please do as I say, not as I do. This is Moldavite water. It's good for you. That rhymes all the time. Hey, I'm a poet and my folks don't know it. Okay, so Moldavite water. This is kind of leading to something too, because not this episode. I'm actually making some Moldavite, some very, very powerful Moldavite meditation oil. And I wanted to make a video today about Moldavite water, because this is kind of leading up to that. And at the same time, I wanted to share some different things that I'm learning that you can do with Moldavite, you can do with water. And again, water is so important to our lives. And okay, crystal formations. I'd already talked about that with Dr. Emoto. Now, my old girlfriend, she worked at this place that it was essentially a spa, not just a spa. It was a float spa. And for those of you that do not know, a float spa is one where they had, I think it was over 1,200 pounds of Epsom salts in water. and this water was about the size of a king-size bed. Maybe I'm feeling the Moldavite water. Anyways, the 1,200 pounds of Epsom salts were added to the water. So you literally could not sink. You would float. And I would be there sometimes helping her to clean up. And at the end of the night, mopping the floor, I'd noticed on different nights, different people, there were crystals from different structures, and the crystals would form on the floor. Because I don't know if you guys have, worked with salt or anything like that, but magnesium salt is it dried very quickly after you mop the floor. And I just remember, that it struck me as pretty odd because depending on, well, there were different people coming out of different rooms, and these crystals sometimes would be beautiful and sometimes would be, but still, it's just, it was just quite an observation I made. So, again, man, I think I'm feeling the Moldavite water. I actually saw a video where a guy made some Moldavite water and said it was very powerful and that it actually activated the Kundalini. So any of you guys know anything about chakras, Kundalini, and things like that. So, but yeah, I will actually. I'm gonna link that video that I keep referring to about water in the show notes for today's show on the website moldavitelife.com. So if you want to go check out episode 5 of the Moldavite Life podcast, and I will have a link to that documentary that I keep talking about. It's about an hour and a half long, but if you guys want to learn a little bit more about water and why it is so important, then it would be a great one to watch. So, all right. Well, actually, a real quick preview for next show, and then I'll get into the lesson for the day. All right, next show, I have a little bit of a treat planned for you. One of the listeners emailed in a question about Herkimer diamonds. Herkimer diamonds are very unique. They're not actually diamonds, they're crystals. And they are found in one place in the world, Herkimer, New York. And Herkimer diamonds get their name because the natural structure is similar. Well, the way they come out of the ground, they're very, cut and polished look, kind of like diamonds. But anyways, viewer question, he asked about how, or is it true that they can amplify the effect of Moldavite? So, wanted to answer that, which, went to a local crystal shop and took you guys along with me. So, there's a preview for next show, episode 6. All right. So, lesson for the day. Water plays such an important role in our lives, yet most of us, most of the time, we take it for granted. And say the next time that you have a glass of water, give thanks. Show it some love and appreciate the fact that whether you believe in it or not, there is more to water than meets the eye, as modern science tells us. So, yeah. All right. Until next time, this is Levi, the Moldavite guy. And remember the show motto, raise your vibration. And until then, you guys have a good one.